We've talked a few times about the importance of taking a short break once in a while, and sometimes a great break is in the company of a great snack. Well, Dewey Donut Delectables is just that. A soft, moist, and affordable premium donut, a snack you can have wherever you want. They come in two delectable flavors, Chocomallow and Purple Yam. With Dewey Donut Delectables, you'll always have an exciting snack break to look forward to. Get your own delectable treat now and try Dewey Delectables. Available in supermarkets, Lazada, and Shopee. Click the links in the episode description for more information.
Hello? Hello?
Podcast Network Asia.
Hey guys, welcome back to Small Talk, small conversations with huge impact. My name is Alec Cuenca and I'm your host. And before anything else, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, then I hope that you enjoy this episode as much as I will be enjoying recording it. And if this is your end time listening to the show, then welcome back. I am so happy that you are still listening to the show. If this is your end time listening to the show, then you know that we have grown so much, but we can still grow so much more. And so I'm just happy that you're still here. And in today's episode, as we all know, February is here, and there's a lot of pressure going into Valentine's, and for people in their mid 20s and early 30s, there's a lot of pressure in relationships and dating and being single. And so I am so excited to have here on the show the host of the podcast, 30 and Thirsty. Am I right?
Thirsty and dirty.
Thirsty and 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thirsty and 30. I guested on their show and we talked about dating and being single. It was so fun. And I have here one of my very good online friends. She's also a writer. She loves to write about love and relationships, about food and culture, and basically about humans. She is also a storyteller for the Center for Culinary Arts. And again, she hosts a podcast about smarter love, Thirsty and 30. Let's all welcome to the show, Miss Bea Trinidad. Hi, Bea. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alec. Best intro ever. I usually introduce myself, so it's nice when someone else does because you get kind of tired of introducing yourself. But thank you for that. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here because I'm a big fan of your podcast and as well as like self-improvement, actually.
Yeah, I know. A fun fact, Bea joined the group coaching sessions that I do about self-improvement. It's called the Better Me Project. So if you guys are one of those people who are really invested in self-improvement, go ahead and join us there. But for this episode, we are basically going to talk about being single. So let me just start off with a question.
Yeah.
How long are you single? How long have you been single?
You know what? I stopped counting. I feel like I keep saying it's like 3 to 4 years, but like, gosh, I cannot remember. I feel like it's almost 5 years. I just stopped counting. To me, it's like just enjoy the years as they come. And then minsan may lalaking sumusulpot, tapos minsan wala. You gotta get used to both, I think.
Yeah.
So
And why I really love having you here on the show is because you actually wrote an article about being single, right? And so with your podcast as well, you've been interviewing people about their dating life, their love lives, and what is the one thing that you think that people are, how do you say this? Ano yung isang bagay na tingin mong pinakamalaking misconceptions when it comes to being single?
I think being single sometimes relates to being lonely. Like you feel like you have no value to other people. You're not dateable. You're not ligawen. But I think it's just a moment in time where you choose to be by yourself, or the world chooses not to give you to someone. So I think for me, the biggest misconception is that you're a lonely person, but I just see so much. I think you wrote about this on your Facebook page about being single, and I just really resonate resonated with that because being single can actually be a good thing if your mind is right, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's also one of the things na hindi rin agad kayang tanggapin. We try to reject that. Of course, if you came, of course, growing up, you had your parents, so you
Mm.
learn to be dependent on them, and then you find this first love, first relationship, and then you didn't know what a healthy relationship should look like, so now you become also dependent on that, and now you suddenly become single. Well, for me, that's my story. And
Mm.
so at the beginning of my single life, it was a really hard time, right? And what are your experiences in your transition from, um, you know, that phase where you realize na, okay, I am single and I need to be okay and I need to figure this out, the single
Mm.
life. What were your experience and what are some lessons that you learned along the way?
I think with any situation, like whether you're single, taken, or married, I I mean, we talk about this with money, with religion, with your status in life. There's always something in your childhood that somewhat determines your love life. So I think for me, when I was in my teens, I was a very awkward girl. I didn't really know how to date. Sometimes you cry if someone doesn't like you, or sometimes you just show that you're standoffish. But my thing is, I moved to Australia when I was about 19 because I said there's no way I can become a woman in this country if everyone is watching. Diba? Alam mo yung mga tita, tito, everyone in your family is involved. And there's no way you could, what if you're a bad kisser? What if you're bad at all these things? What if you don't flirt? Diba? It's your first time into dating and then everyone is watching you. So I was committed to going overseas to grow up there. And then I got into a relationship, I think when I was 21 or 20, and it just went such a long time, 10 years. Considering what I know now, I think it was so hard because I didn't know how to be single. I also didn't know how to be taken. So there was just a lot of things I didn't know. So only when I got into my 30th birthday, that was when I was like, okay, I gotta learn this. Because when I'm alone, I'm sad. And then when I'm with someone, it's also very toxic. So parang my whole life, it was just like, I didn't know what a healthy relationship was. So I don't know if that answers your question. Basically, I was like an awkward person from single to taken.
Yeah,
And that's okay.
it does. Thank you so much for sharing your experience on that. And I just want to ask, what are some measures or what are some, you know, actions that you did so that you could know yourself better? Because I think that's when people, I think there's a point in people's lives na
Mm,
realize nila na, okay, I don't know these stuff.
yeah.
Now I need to learn about them. Well, how did you learn about them and more about yourself as well?
Oh gosh, I think it's just going through really bad times, but it's like a roller coaster. It goes up and down. My up was like I was going through really bad phases. Like I would drink tequila before I go boxing. Yung type na lasing ka in boxing. And
Wow.
I had to, and I was determined that that was the way, that if I could box while I was a little bit intoxicated, that it meant I was a strong person. But that wasn't the reality. And then finally, when my ex left me, I was just going through a really rebel phase. And then when my ex left me, I was alone in like the apartment and everything. And I started to pick up books. I really I wanted to get the basics right. It sounds so boring, right? Books, um, books, healthy food, and endorphins. And I think with the books, sometimes because when you talk to friends and strangers, they can't give you what you need. They don't give you the wealth of knowledge that you need at that moment. But a book is like, it's sometimes even better than a friend. Sorry to say that.
Yeah.
So how I discovered myself, I went through a lot of readings and then I just ate good food. So instead of eating that burger or
Mhm.
drinking that whiskey, I started to eat vegetables and I felt better. And then I would exercise. I would hate it, but then after I would feel good. So I tried to just make myself feel good rather than, getting flowers from someone that made you feel good only for an instant. So it was a lot of work. I think 1 year of either being drunk or sober. being drunk or sober. And I don't mean that just in the alcohol sense, but in
Mm-hmm.
the also in the being drunk in life or sober in life. So it was a lot of alone time. I was definitely a hermit for a year and a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love about what you shared is it resonates with one book that I read. It's called Single on Purpose. Have you read that?
Not yet. I got the book, but I
Oh,
have yet to read it. Maybe you can
okay.
give me the gist.
It's an amazing book, but I think one of the best things that I learned, or the idea that came to me was, you basically need to connect more to your truest self. And how do you do that? You take care of four aspects: your body, your mind, your heart, and your soul.
Hmm.
So I think that's what I got from it. And I love what you said, that you went exercising, you took care of your body,
Hmm.
you ate healthier, and then you also allow yourself to process these emotions. Or can you tell us a little bit more about the other aspects? Were you able
Hmm.
to work on that as well during your phase of moving on
You mean
after?
processing my emotions? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, like taking care of your heart and
Hmm.
your mind and your soul as well. How are you able to take care of those?
Gosh,
Um,
the heart, the soul, the brain are one of the toughest things. It's the one that's so deep in all of them and all the scars that you don't really see. It's not a normal scab. So what I did was I really, it sounds so cliche, but I went through the daily stoic. Daily stoic was good because every day I had a good thought in my head. So every morning I would read one of those pages because if I didn't, I would have a negative thought right away. So
mm,
immediately, because I read that, it countered my negative feelings or my negative thoughts or worries. So I started on a good note. And then the second thing I would do for the brain and the soul was really, I did a lot of therapy. I know
mm-hmm,
a lot of people get embarrassed by that, but I think talking to someone who has no bias or no preconceived notion of you is so powerful. And it's kind of like you date a lot of therapists.
mm-hmm,
You don't find the perfect one right away.
mm-hmm.
So I found one who had a lot of Buddhas in his house, and he gave me a lot of crackers and food. So parang natuwa ako dun. And what else? You are a fan of this journaling.
Mm-hmm.
Journaling for me has saved me a lot. Some days I would write pages, some days I would literally just write a dot, just so it felt like I did something, or a dash. And that to me was enough. Yeah, it was a lot of that. You do a lot of them until you wake up one day and you go, oh, I don't care as much as I cared a
Mm.
couple years. And the last thing, sorry, the book of Mark Manson, how to the subtle art of not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that was just amazing, of letting go about everything you worried about, everything that everyone could think about of you, and just realize that it's just you, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't, say how much I am so happy that we kind of went through a similar stage, because books were also very, very important to me. In fact, they were my best friends when I was learning more about myself. And those books that you mentioned were also the books that I read, right? So if people are listening to this episode, then that's your book recommendations. I read also The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck
Mm.
and The Daily Stoic. I still read it every single day. And just, I think when you start to open yourself to more knowledge, and then that's the time that you begin to have more self-awareness, and then that's the only time you can change your action. But I want to talk about, okay, one day you mentioned that one day you're going to wake up and you don't care as much anymore. Can you tell me how, or can you tell us how long did it actually take you, or what do you think is like the main difference why people, kasi yung iba after 10 years, after 5 years, they're still not over it, right? They're still in that there's they still feel stuck,
Yeah.
right? What do you think is like the main difference? Why people can go through that and
Mm.
bakit yung iba hindi nagbabago?
It's so funny. One uncle or a family friend told my mom that she thinks it's gonna take half the time you were together with someone. Like people always say that there's a formula on
Mm.
how long it's gonna take you to recover. Uh, the difference between people who recover fast and those who don't are people that have the mindset of rediscovery. So I think there's a
Mm.
lot of research in this. I cannot remember who did the research, but people who invest in activities that are about rediscovering themselves will recover faster from heartbreak, from any pain, because they've invested in themselves. The ones that don't and watch movies, rom-coms, eat bad food, they won't recover as fast because you won't find the life that is better without that person.
Mm.
I think that's, I realized I worked through it faster. I mean, it wasn't fast, I
Mhm.
would say. I wish I would be one of those girls now. Okay, move on na. But I'm not. Diba? I don't know how it's like for guys, but yeah, I think investing in activities that are just enjoyable, pleasurable, and healthy for you is the way to go. It's not gonna take a week, but it will be better in the long run.
I love that. Have the mindset of rediscovering yourself. I think that's been or I've been trying to have that mindset for quite some time now, to always rediscover yourself, and it's just really exciting, right? And here's something that people might disagree on, and it's still kind of under talked or undervalued in our society: how exciting being single is. Like, I don't know. I'm
Mm,
having so
yeah,
much fun being
yeah.
single. Could you say the same? And what do you think is, or what is the most exciting part about being single for you?
To have your own time. I think to own your own time is one of the most powerful things. Being single, I enjoy it now. Maybe when I was younger, I was so sad. I think now because I clear out what I like. So you're not so obsessed with the guy, you're not so obsessed with the girl that if they're gone, let's say if they don't reply to you within the day, parang okey lang kasi ang dami kong gagawin. Aksaya ka lang sa oras, alam mo yun? And then they call you, they're like, "Why don't you call?" I was like, "Well, the phone goes both ways." 'Di ba? Hindi naman siya one way lang. And I think the nicest thing is realizing if this person is not giving me attention, I have so many other things on my list that I would take great joy in. I think that's the nicest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, our time and our energy is very, very important.
Mm.
That's why we shouldn't just allow people to take that from us. And so when we understand also, and ito kasi parang sa akin ngayon recently, as I've said, it's been 1 year since I've been single. Now in the early stages, I've been still kind of rejecting that thought, which is why I dated ASAP. Kung
Yeah, I want
sino
to
ay
know about you. I have to twist. Tell me how you got over or like how you found joy. First of all, are you happy being single?
Yeah, yes, I am happy being single. And it wasn't like this in the
Okay.
beginning.
Hmm.
It was so hard because um I don't know, it just feels like, who am I going to love? Who am I going to share my happy moments with? And
Hmm.
I kept on focusing on having someone than rather just having that joy all to myself. And it's kind of selfish. Like people
Hmm.
would hear that and say, well, that's kind of selfish, but there's no shame in doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I understand properly right now that we just go through different phases. We just go through different seasons, and
Hmm.
maybe this is the season where I experience all the joy that I experienced when I was in a relationship,
Yeah.
and give that all to myself, or even like share it with the other relationships that I have, like my families,
Hmm.
my friends. And I'm so happy that I came to that conclusion. Now, you know what? This isn't so bad after all,
Hmm.
right? I think I read a quote earlier, and it says like, um, I know what I bring to the table. So I forgot what that quote was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not scared to eat alone. Parang ganon. With all the hard work and effort that you give, you deserve nothing less than a premium reward. Dewey's premium affordable delectables with all the sweet surprises inside is exactly what you should get. There's the choco mallow flavor with the marshmallow surprise inside and the purple yam flavor with that coconut filling and flakes. All packaged individually so you can be assured of freshness and flavor. I'm not sure what you guys are waiting for. Get your own delectable treat now and try Dewey Delectables. Available in supermarkets, Lazada, and Shopee. Click the links in the episode description for more information.
People that don't watch movies alone, or I mean, we don't have cinemas. Cinemas are not as popular at the moment because of the pandemic, but I remember the people or girls who ask for advice from me, and I always tell them, if you can't sit and watch a movie by yourself and laugh, I think we have a tiny problem here, that you can't be alone. And yeah, I think there's something in that. Being able to
Yeah.
eat alone is good.
Yeah. Now, my next question would be because can you share with us, have you been dating kunyari ngayon na okay, you're single. Have you been like what's your mindset going into the dating scene
Oh,
now that
okay.
you have adjusted? Okay, I'm okay with being single. What's your mindset into dating?
Okay. I go through phases. Same as any woman, they have love-hate relationship with online dating. I think when I broke up with my ex, and then went through a single phase, I met someone who, there was some romantic interest there, and then eventually it was like friends, and then romantic. It was a bit on and off. But what was good about that, I realized from that person, is when you have good people around you, the world is like, it's your oyster, basically. If you have toxic people around you, it becomes smaller. So I think that from him, because he was a good influence. My mindset on dating is that, how do I, nakapagod siya minsan, I would have to say. Pagod ang swipe, and I think be open. You will have phases where if you meet someone who keeps sending dick pics, you will be very highly offended on the dating world. But I think you can allocate about 30 minutes to 1 hour a day or 3 times a week to just trying to see who's there in the online apps, on the dating apps, or join a group that you're passionate about, whether it's Star Wars,
Mm,
writing, and you may find someone of interest. I think it will happen when you least expect it.
mm.
And my mindset is just every day try to put yourself out there. And then I do this, I'm a bit crazy. I flag the people that I'm interested in. And I make extra effort to reply to them, because I know myself. I don't know, Alec, if you're like this.
Uh-huh.
I'm a workaholic. I could just like spend hours doing my podcast, my job, and then forget about flirting or dating.
Mhm.
But I was like, okay, I'm gonna really try. I'm already 32. It's good to try and be nice and practice your flirting skills. So my mindset is be open, put yourself out there, but commit the time. Hindi pwede kung feel mo lang. Like once a week, doon ako magte-text. Kailangan, keep the momentum. So
Yeah,
I flag them like an email.
I love that. You flag them like it's also part of your self care because one
Mm.
thing that I also love about the book that I read was you gotta be open to dating,
Yeah.
right? I think that's where people get it wrong. They think that if you're taking care of yourself, you should close that option. You should not be open in dating. While your priority should be taking care of yourself, you should
Mm.
also be open in dating. I also saw a TikTok post that sometimes the deepest wounds from a relationship trauma
Mm.
can only be fixed by a relationship, a new relationship, or a better
Yeah. What do
one.
you think of that? Tama
Yeah,
ba?
ako feeling ko I haven't,
Are you
feeling
sure?
ko
Are you sure?
may mga may mga traumas pa ako
Okay.
na wino-work with sa previous relationship ko na talagang masosolve lang siya pag meron na akong bagong girlfriend. Kasi paano ko
Yeah.
mapapractice yung wala akong trust issues or um,
Sa'yo, sa sarili
sa
mo.
sarili ko. Di ba? Parang ganun eh. So parang ako, right now, I'm using the time to be aware of
Mm.
what are the things that went wrong
Yeah.
and what could I improve on from the previous relationships. And then once the right one or I'm given the chance again to do that, I'll become
Mm.
better. I'll make better choices. I'll make better decisions. How about you? Do you believe that?
I don't want to believe it, but I think based on past experience, yes, it's true. Nothing makes you forget the other more than meeting someone new that you're interested in. And it's so sad to be like that. But yes, I believe it's true. But caution, like be very careful that you
Mhm.
don't fall in the same patterns. Because like for me, I like
Mm.
people that are in other countries. I like the promise of an adventure. So it's a bit both because I like being grounded, but I also like adventure. So minsan I pick yung type na talagang yung wala hindi mo alam kung saan kayo lalangoy eh. Yung ganon. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. But you learn. You learn.
Yeah, you do. You do learn. And one of my next question is probably for the people listening to this podcast and they had a bad experience, right?
Mm,
And so now they have their walls so high, they
mm.
are guarding their hearts with all their power. What advice could you give to them so that they can at least try to be open to or at least try to prepare themselves for
Mm.
dating again?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna be practical. I'm not gonna be a cheesy person that the person's gonna show up there, put yourself out there. I'm on actually a hundred stranger challenge where I'm trying to meet 100 people. I don't know what time span I can do it. And when I say meeting a person, it could be a 15-minute call. It could be it'd be nice to do a virtual date or a physical date, but if I'd say for anyone who is kind of heartbroken or has been ghosted or is not feeling dating anyone, just try to meet 100 people. And each person you meet is write down what you like or didn't like about them.
Mm.
So if it's too much to say I'm gonna meet 100 men, you could just say hundred people, 50% men, and then 50% just people at work or women, and that will help you, I think, get to know what you like more, because the more you meet people that are bad dates or bad people or good people, the more you're going to know what you want.
Mm.
I think sometimes people just choose the one that's right in front of them, when and then it leads to a more toxic relationship because they don't know what they want and then they get shocked. So yeah, join my
Yeah,
100 day 100 person challenge.
yeah, I love that. I think that's the first time that I heard about it, but it makes perfect sense. Like, how would you know? Like,
Yeah.
what are your standards? What are your boundaries? What are your
Mm.
non-negotiables? If you
Yeah.
are just not allowing yourself to go through life's experiences and be clear on that. And
Yeah.
so I love that. I love that. And we are, of course, with TikTok, with Instagram, we all
Mm.
know na mahalaga yan.
Mm.
Setting boundaries.
Yeah.
But how do you actually set them? Where do you start?
Mm.
Like, paano ka okay, mahalaga yung setting boundaries, but how do you start doing that?
Okay. Boundaries. I find this hard because I am a person that is a go with the flow and let go, and then anything is fine. Um, Gosh, boundaries. I think not tolerating things.
Mm-hmm.
But always I'm a kind, like I'm not a person that blocks. I'm not a like, okay, this person is emotionally unavailable. Block. I don't
Mm.
do that. I kind of find a way to make them my friend. they go in a friend bucket. I think you have to, with boundaries, first you have to know them, right? So most of the time, because when you meet a guy who's hot, who's good at flirting, everything, who says the right things, main love ka agad, diba?
Mm.
Even like with guys and girls, right? You instantly either get super attracted or you get in love, and then you imagine life with them. Setting boundaries for me is asking very succinct questions. So the first thing I always ask is like, do I like how they spend their time? Their free time. And if I don't, I tell them like, you're drinking too much,
Mm.
or you are rude, like you're cursing at me, or you're cursing at your friend, or something like that. That's not acceptable for me. So it's up to you. If you want to keep cursing and you want to keep drinking until the end of the days, go for it. But I'm not going to be a part of that. And then gosh, boundaries, huh? I know I'm still working through this. Maybe you can give me a tip. I think it's, for
No.
me, it's just saying it nicely. Saying it
Mm.
nicely, and then being prepared that they're gonna walk away if they can't accept it.
Mm.
Yeah. And be
Yeah.
okay.
And I also read something that goes like, sharing your boundary is not really, when someone shares their boundaries, they're not pushing you away. That's them trying to keep you in their lives. Now,
Mm.
I think when you set a boundary and people share it with you, you have a choice.
Okay.
You have a choice that you either step back
Mm.
and have that friction,
Yeah.
increase that tension between you two because of that boundary, or you could, um, try to compromise, try to work through that boundary, try to see if there are different ways that you could understand that boundary or you could live with that boundary.
Mm.
So when that happens, you now have two worlds being diverged,
Mm.
and you have a better understanding and better perspective on the relationship or the situation that you are in. So but for me, setting boundaries, it's also something that I've been working on because I'm a hopeless romantic, and when I
Mm.
fall for someone, I fall hard, and I just lose all the things about
Yeah.
boundaries and all that stuff. But recently, I've been learning a lot about that, and it's not just about romantic relationships as well. It's also about friends, families.
Yeah.
When you do that, when you learn how to set boundaries with your friends or your families, you can also do that in your dating life or your love
Yeah.
life. So I think it's very, very important because otherwise you're just gonna say yes to whatever comes along, and you're gonna settle
Mm.
for something that you don't really want in the first place.
Yeah. Definitely keep yourself busy. If, like, let's say you told someone to text you, communicate better, and then they don't, just do something else. Forget it. Don't answer the call
Yeah.
until they apologize. But I don't know. This is a tough one for me. I'm also like you. I realize I am a hopeless romantic. It was for the longest time. I was saying I don't like the PDA. I don't like the sweet words, the caring. I want a practical relationship. And
Hmm.
then my auntie was like, you know what? I think you love love. I don't think you like. Sometimes you don't like the person you're with. You just love love. I was like, oh nga naman minsan.
And yeah, and that's crazy because people don't know how to differentiate that. Like
Mm,
people think that they like the person,
mm.
but they just like the feeling that the other person is giving them.
Oh
So they
yeah.
don't actually love the person. They love the feeling of the love that they're feeling,
Mhm.
if that makes any sense. And we should be careful not falling into that trap.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's
Yeah.
make a club. Let's make a hopeless romantic club.
Okay. So I want to ask this question because in the dating scene, this has been somewhat popular, thank God. But people are talking a lot about red flags
Oh,
nowadays.
yeah.
What's your take on red flags? Or, well, first and foremost, what's your like non-negotiable red flags? Or do you think that there's certain red flags that people can work through? Or pag red flag ba talagang, you know what, I'm out, goodbye?
I am a hypocrite with this because we talk about red flags on our show, and Shari will say I'm the most forgiving, like just chill person with red flags. I'm really bad at this. I think you should know them, but then sometimes when the person's in front of you, when they're doing the right things at that moment, you really forget the red flags. Like everyone I've dated in the last couple years, I would say would have red flags na I purposely ignored. I really did. But I was doing this whole like charge at the life experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh.
then, so maybe that's why I'm still searching. So I think red flags are good, but it's really hard. I think what's better so that you're never around red flags is be in good environments.
Mm-hmm.
So, malilesen yung chance na may red flag na may ignore ka. 'Di ba? Kasi sometimes when you're in a bad environment, the red flags are more. In a good environment, there's less red flags. So just put yourself there.
What are some good environments that people can look at?
Better me project. No, I mean anything that is healthy for you. So whether it's a um sports group or I mean I'm not a sporty person, but I'm thinking let's say startup groups as well, anything that has to do with a growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously don't meet someone in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've interviewed some people that they met in rehab. I think that's a bit tough.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. Love stories happen anywhere, but I would say there are exceptions to the rule. And for the rule, just go for skills that improve you, make you a nicer person, healthier. Yeah. Meditation groups. Maghanap
Yeah.
kayo niyan.
Malaking tulong yung mga ganung groups. And I think that's also one way to so that you could learn more about
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
and you enjoy yourself, your time alone, not for the sake of finding someone, di
Yeah.
ba? You get to do the things, and if something
Mm.
happens along the way, if you meet someone along the way, then okay, that's good. But more importantly, you're doing it so that you can become
Mm.
more comfortable with yourself as well.
Wait, I have a question. What's a red flag that you've ignored?
Oh, I think this is this is quite humiliating, but I
Don't worry, no judging.
I think it was when I was dating this person,
Mm.
and then she admitted that um how do you say this? Like she lied about us, or I think one to be very specific, she
Mm.
asked she asked me not to post her on social media.
Okay.
And so it's not a
Yeah.
big thing, but I had to look into it. Why?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Why?
Labo.
Okay. Okay lang, pero
Okay.
why? Right?
Yeah.
Because if you're still healing, then that's okay.
Mm.
Well, apparently, a week later, like 2 weeks later, she went back with her ex. So I was like,
Mm.
okay, so that's why. But after that, she kind of still was flirting with me. And for like a short span, I was like, okay with it.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Okay.
just stop talking to your ex, and then, we
Yeah.
can still talk. And then I realized that, okay, that's a pattern right there. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a red flag. You shouldn't really, um, uh, you know, just completely disregard because
Yeah.
again if they can lie about that then
Mm.
they'd be willing to lie about anything else.
Yeah.
So I think I know it's very basic, but in any type, if there's lying involved,
Mm.
stay away.
I know that is a bit weird. That is a bit like like having the whole cake and everything, and not leaving a piece for anyone. Ay, nako, may mga tao talagang ganyan.
How about you? What's one red flag um that you missed? How can I say that? But yeah.
Someone who's always in a different country, is that the red flag? I love it. Like it's so. I realized this is one of my big realizations this year. Is my dating pattern is I love people overseas because it promises me a life of adventure because it's a new place. But
Mhm.
actually, if you stop thinking that way and you go, I can design my own life. If I want to go to, let's say, China, or I mean Japan, or wherever you want to go, you can make it happen yourself without another guy I think that's more powerful. So that's kind of what makes me in a better place with dating. It's like I can make my own life. It doesn't have to be this person.
I love that. This just popped in my head,
Mm.
but we all talk about the red flags that we look that we become wary of when we're looking at other people. But what are some red flags that we're um, guilty of? Can you
Oh,
share?
yes. This is my favorite question at a
Okay.
dinner table. What's
What?
your tililing factor? What's your
Yeah.
tililing factor is my icebreaker. Okay, mine is really that I like complicated situations. I like long distance for me is sexier than someone who's down the road. That is my ultimate. What else? As sad as it is, I think in the beginning I like someone who shows like they don't have a limit. It's I mean, sorry. I can show sometimes that I don't have a limit when I do. So
What do you mean?
um
What do you mean by not?
so like let's say if you're drinking, I can drink a lot.
Uh-huh.
Or you could just show like you don't care about the next day. Kind of ganon. Parang live for the moment but hindi ka naman pala ganon. So that's my red flag. I look more adventurous than I actually am.
Mm.
How about you?
That's very interesting. Wait, let me just think about it. What are some red? I think.
Workaholic. I am also a workaholic. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a red flag.
It's very important as well that we become self-aware with this because
Mm.
now and it's not really a bad thing. We all are humans and we all have our red flags, and I think the first step in actually trying to deal with them is to become aware
Mm.
of it, right? To accept them that these are
Yeah.
our red flags. For me, my red flag is really love bombing.
Oh, you're a love bomber.
Yeah. Like
And
if
then, do you have like a deadline? Di ba mga love bombers, biglang nawawala. I-
okay. Well, I just realized this recently with the one that okay, I'm really interested in this one girl, right?
okay.
So, and then I was talking to my cousin and I shared it. I'm always sharing, my interests, my love interests with my cousin. And when I shared that, I got a different reaction. He said, "Yan ka na naman." And I was like, "Huh? What do you mean? I mean, aren't you happy? Like, I'm seeing someone, I'm interested in someone." Sabi niya na, "Oh, tapos, sobrang sweet mo na naman, ganyan, ganyan, post mo na naman, bibigyan mo na naman ng sobrang daming gifts, ganyan." Tapos realize ko, oh my gosh, that's love bombing. And then
You're
I
a
looked
love
back.
bomber.
Love bomber pala ako. So I looked back at the other love interest that I had, and it was the same pattern. Like, um, I didn't, I don't mean it.
Hmm.
Well, it's really hard to say, but I'm really good with words.
Hmm.
And sometimes I think medyo nga mabulaklak nga ako magsalita.
Okay.
So parang ang point ko na okay, medyo nga it wasn't my intention, but that's how it happened.
Hmm.
I said words that weren't really at my best intention.
Yeah.
I meant some of those, but it I could have phrased it properly in a more secure way or safe way na hindi kami parehas or hindi siya parang mas mahuhulog agad or alam mo yun, yung
Hmm.
love bomb talaga.
Yeah.
So that's something that I realized, and thank God that I realized it kasi with this girl,
Hmm.
now I'm becoming more aware of my actions
Yeah.
na okay, kasi I realized in just this year, okay,
Hmm.
this is very exclusive to the podcast listeners. Do not judge me.
Go.
But yeah, I think I dated three people.
Yeah.
But it was like pare-pareha silang 3 months.
Okay. I don't
So
think there's anything wrong with that, by the way, because you have to know.
yeah,
You have to
yeah.
date more. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, but paano ba to? Parang yun nga, meron lang akong 3 months na talagang total when I like you, I'm gonna show my
Bomb you,
affection
bomb you with love.
for 3 months, and then when something goes wrong,
Yeah.
I'm not scared to pull away. Siguro meron and That's really weird. I think I had a breakthrough right here.
Yeah, I
Cuz
know. We did a therapy session. I can be your therapist. Wait, I have
This
a
is weird.
follow-up question
Uh,
about this because there are many women that okay, how do you say it? Like men fall in love with their eyes, right? And women we fall in love with their ears. And
oh.
the thing with a love bomber like you is that it works so well. Like we at first we might not like you that much, and then when we hear all these words, we get converted. And by the time it's too late, they're already invested. What's your advice for women that are, whether a man is love bombing them or really showering them with
Yeah.
words? What's your advice for them?
I think my advice, because I think I can give this advice because this is how the girl that I'm interested in right now is dealing with me.
Yeah.
So I thought she was just she had she has her walls so high,
Yeah.
but she's actually filtering it out. Like everything that I'm throwing at her, she's like, okay, I'll give you more time. Say that again, maybe soon. And then say that again after a few weeks, right? Because every time she does that, I have this small space or small moment where, why is she not accepting this? Should I pull back?
Ah.
Should I pull back or
Continue.
and then I would ask myself, do I really like her?
Hmm.
Okay? For me, napapatanong talaga ako na, okay, if she's not accepting that, would you still be willing to know her more?
Hmm.
To
Hmm.
get to know her more, to talk, spend more time with her. So I am forced to ask that question because the methods that I've been using to other people is not working with her. So I think it's really more about just being patient. And
Yeah.
I think in any kind of relationship, time is really a huge factor. Of course, it's not everything. It does
Yeah.
not define the relationship, but you should at least give yourself 6 months to know this person before you decide to go all in or anything, because it really makes a huge difference.
Okay.
Like, kahit yung minimum lang na 6 months or 6 months na gusto mo siya, tignan mo lang kung yung feelings mo, nagfa-fluctuate ba siya or
Hmm.
consistent ba siya or constant ba siya. And then, you'll realize na the waiting or the time that you spent, that you became sure of it,
Hmm.
actually made you realize na, okay, I really like this person. And now your intentions are very clear.
Okay, 6 months. Girls, minimum 6 months maghintay. And well, okay, this is what I'm curious also. Sorry, naging ako na nagtanong eh. But how long has been the fastest time period you've said I love you to someone? Because I experienced this recently. Someone said I love you so fast. And I was like, is this right? I was like telling that I did the same thing that girl said. I was like, no, you don't. Come on. Like you don't. Like this is a joke. And the person kept saying it. And I wonder on your end, how long have you waited till you said I love you? Yung totoo ah.
Oh my, just, it's crazy because if you're in that moment,
Hmm.
you don't realize that I think there's something wrong with this.
Hmm.
But now looking back, it was just only 1 month.
Yeah, see, may mga ganyan talaga. Bakit?
Less than
Mga
one
love
month, nag-I
bombers.
love you na ako. Kasi sobrang, the intensity of the feeling, it just
Hmm.
makes you want to say it. Because now you see that I felt this before when I was in love. And you think na that's the same,
Hmm.
right? So, but it's not. It's completely different. Of course, your relationship with the other person, it's not the same with this one. So you gotta be just open and experiencing this new
Hmm.
feeling na meron ka. So alam mo yun, sa akin, because I was in the healing phase. I was still moving
Okay.
on from my ex.
Yeah.
So when I felt that, I thought na, okay, this is love. Right? Like that glimpse, this is love. And then now that I'm looking back, I realized na, okay, that was me probably acting on my trauma bond, or I have that trauma bond. It was not really love. It was that trauma speaking.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Is
I
that a
guess
red flag if someone says I love you too soon?
yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Because if it's just word, and on the other side, when you are receiving that and there's this small hesitation na, "Oh, are you sure?" Well,
Yeah.
that means na it is a red flag because siya lang yung nakakita nun. Parang ini-impose niya yung truth niya, yung world niya sa'yo. Na, kasi ako call me a hopeless romantic, but if love is there, like you don't even have to say it. Like, of course, there are people like words of
Yeah.
affirmation,
Yeah.
pero you would know. And hindi
Mm.
mo kailangan i-compensate na I will say I love you just to prove that na mahal kita. Parang we both know that and I'm gonna say it when I think it's the perfect timing. Pero when you just feel na
Yeah.
I love you, I'll say it right away. I think that's not the best way to go at it.
Okay.
How about
From
how
a
about you?
serial love bomber. Okay. Me? I mean, I really don't know. I think I'm in this fun phase where you're trying to figure out who is healthy for you. I just know that in my first relationship, it was also new to me. I don't know. I think love is like I'm not sure if I've experienced love, even if
Yeah.
I've said it. I've said it twice, I believe. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Abangan.
Yeah.
Abangan.
And I think that also shows that it's okay, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's okay. Like people are putting so much pressure na with this person I'm dating, it needs to be
Yeah.
like the truest love that I could have experienced. But the more that you're
Yeah.
trying, actually, it becomes counterproductive,
Hmm.
right? Like the more you're trying, the more you're not gonna get that.
Yeah.
Unlike when you just allow it to happen, then you'll
Hmm.
be surprised, and it becomes more special and more memorable.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah. So I guess one of my last questions would be, um, now that wait lang, I lost my thought process.
It's okay. We've talked a lot about love and
Yeah.
love
And
bombing.
para akong na ano naanig nayanig talaga ako doon eh. I was
Oo nga.
shaken up by that. But
Yeah.
yeah, um I think my last question would be for the people who are looking to enter dating now that they decided that I'm ready. Okay, I'm gonna be open again.
Yeah.
What's your advice to them?
Okay, that's a tough one. I mean, really enter it if you really know yourself. I mean, it could also be a way for you to get to know yourself, but I think it's much better. There's nothing sexier than a person who's more assured of her own skin. I think that's the number one thing is when you start dating, make sure you know yourself already. Mahirap yung hinahanap mo pa siya dun sa lalaki or
Mhm.
girl. And then I guess put the work in. So choose a couple channels, whether it's dating apps or activities like getting set up or going into activities or like whether it's writing or sports, and try to just enjoy it. I think don't see every person as ito na yung ama ng anak ko. Like I think there are people like that na, their ovaries are ticking. So I think don't take it as that. Enjoy it, but not to the point of enjoying that it breaks your boundaries. Enjoy it in a healthy way, and every time you meet someone and you don't think it's gonna work out, just tell them so that they can be your friend, or it just ends nicely, and there. So I guess from the start to the end, um, act gracefully and enjoy it, and if you get burnt out, take a break 1 to 2 days and then go at it again. Diba? Parang just masaya siya. May mga tao talaga dyang nakakatuwang i-meet, but if you're confident enough, I think if you're insecure and you're worried, it will be a very, very burdening process. But
Yeah.
if you find yourself beautiful inside and out, then dating will be just something fun and time to kill in this pandemic.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I totally agree. Let's just take this pressure off, from single people who are dating.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. And if we are in this season and if we are in this phase, then let's not try to resist that. Let's try not to force things. I
Mm.
believe that anything forced and rushed is fragile. So if you really want to, have a relationship, then just enjoy the moment and give it time. Give it time
Yeah.
to grow and prosper. So yeah, again, Bea, thank you so much for being here on the show and
Yes.
having
Yeah.
such a great conversation. I really enjoyed this,
Yeah.
and I just can't wait to share it with other people because I also
Mm.
shared some of the things. I don't think people would get to hear that, and I'm really like, more
Mm.
often than I wanted to because I'm
Mm.
always asking the questions, but you turn the questions back to me. And it was really really fun. It was really really exciting. But please, Bea, let them know about your show and let
Yes,
them
for
know
sure.
where can they connect with you.
Mm. So my favorite thing is actually talking to other women or men sometimes who are struggling with love and dating. So please do message us on Instagram, Thirsty and 30, so you can share mga scams sa love, mga love budol or love successes. And also you can check out our website, thirstyand30.club. And lastly, I write it's a love letter to any single person or any heartbroken person. It's a newsletter every Monday, thirsty30.substack.com. And I just give you a little bit of like wisdom every Monday para mabuhayan kayo ulit na love is worth pursuing and it's part of self-improvement. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So go ahead. I'll link those below in the description box below. And yeah, again, Bea, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your really great energy. And I just love talking to people who share the same energy that I have. And thank you for your insights and your wisdom as well. And I can't wait for us to talk more about this, maybe, in another episode or maybe in your podcast again as
Yes.
well. So thank you so much again, Bea, for being here.
Thank you, Alec. I had fun asking you questions. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, guys, if you like this episode, go ahead and share this on your social media accounts on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, and do not forget to tag me at Alec Cuenca. And you have your Instagram as well, Bea, right? At Bea
Yes.
Trinidad.
Yes. Beatrinidad underscore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Message me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to share your insights, your comments, or you have any questions about love life or dating or being single, go ahead and send us a message. We would love to hear more from you. So thank you again for listening. This is Small Talk, small conversations with huge impact. And I will talk to you guys next episode. Bye bye.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.